The silence after midnight. The night was heavy with rain when Lavelle Brooks turned into the cracked driveway of the house he once called home. The same flickering porch light glowed weakly through the drizzle, casting broken shadows across the wet concrete. He cut the engine and sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel as his heart pounded like thunder in his chest. It had been 8 long months since he'd last seen Shanice. He'd come here tonight to make things right, or so he told himself. Lavelle stepped out of the car, his jacket already soaked through. The house loomed in front of him, quiet but not peaceful. He could see the faint orange glow of a lamp inside, moving slightly as if someone had just walked past it. He took a deep breath and knocked. There was a pause before the door creaked open. Shanice stood there, wrapped in a silk robe, her eyes swollen from crying. Even in her exhaustion, she was beautiful, the kind of beauty that could still stop Lavelle's breath cold. "Lavelle," she whispered, "what are you doing here?" "Just needed to talk," he said, his voice low. 5 minutes. That's all." She hesitated, then stepped aside. The living room looked almost the same. Same framed wedding photo on the wall, same scent of lavender candles. But there were small differences, too. The couch was moved closer to the window. A man's jacket hung on the chair by the door. Lavelle noticed. "So, this how it is now?" he muttered, nodding toward the jacket. Shanice folded her arms. "You don't get to ask me that anymore. You left, remember?" He clenched his jaw, trying to swallow the anger rising in his throat. "You pushed me out, Shanice. You said I wasn't enough. You said I'd never change. I said I couldn't keep living in chaos," she shot back. "And you proved me right every time you showed up drunk or broke something that wasn't yours." Lavelle looked down, shaking his head slowly. "I came to apologize. I've been getting help. I've been trying, Shanice. For real this time." Her voice softened. "I want to believe that, Lavelle. I do. But it's too late." He looked up sharply. "Too late? You already moved on." Before she could answer, headlights swept across the front window. A sleek black car pulled into the driveway. Shanice froze. "Who's that?" Lavelle demanded. She didn't reply, but the answer came seconds later when the front door opened again. Jermaine Lewis stepped inside, tall, confident, wearing a suit that still smelled faintly of cologne. He stopped when he saw Lavelle, his face hardening instantly. "What the hell is this?" Jermaine said, glaring at Shanice. "You didn't tell me he'd be here." Lavelle stood up slowly, his voice low and dangerous. "Guess you're the new man, huh?" Jermaine smirked. Somebody had to treat her right. Before anyone could blink, Lavelle swung. His fist connected with Jermaine's jaw, sending him crashing into the coffee table. Shanice screamed as glass shattered across the floor. "Stop it," she cried, grabbing Lavelle's arm. "You're not helping yourself." Lavelle shoved her hand away, his breathing ragged. "You think you can replace me that easy?" he snarled. Jermaine staggered to his feet, blood on his lip. "You better get out before I call the cops." Lavelle took a step forward. "You really think I care about the cops tonight?" Shanice ran between them. "Enough. Both of you," she shouted. "This is over, Lavelle. I don't love you anymore. You need to go before something terrible happens." The words hit him like a bullet. For a moment, everything went still. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall and the rain pattering against the window. Then Lavelle's eyes softened and his shoulders dropped. "All right," he murmured. "You made your choice." He walked toward the door, hand trembling on the handle. "But you'll remember this night, Shanice. You'll remember I came back." He left without another word. 2 hours later, the neighborhood was quiet again, until the sound of sirens shattered the stillness. A neighbor had called 911 after hearing screams coming from Shanice's house. When officers arrived, the front door was ajar. The living room was a wreck, shattered glass, overturned furniture, blood smeared on the floor. In the center of it all lay Shanice Brooks, motionless. Her robe was torn, her eyes open and unseeing. Detective Raymond Foster crouched beside her, his flashlight sweeping across the room. "Time of death looks recent," he muttered. "No signs of forced entry." Neighbor said she heard a man's voice, the rookie officer said. "Angry. Could be the ex-husband." "Lavelle Brooks," Foster said, nodding. "Yeah, I know the name. He's got priors, domestic disturbance, 2 restraining orders." The detective stood up and sighed. Get a bolo out. Let's bring him in. The next morning, Lavelle was found sitting alone on a park bench a few miles away, his clothes still damp from the rain. When the police approached, he didn't run. I didn't kill her, he said quietly as they handcuffed him. I swear I didn't. At the station, Foster leaned over the interrogation table. You expect me to believe that? You show up at your ex-wife's house, there's a fight, and a few hours later she's dead. Lavelle shook his head. I left after the argument. She was alive when I walked out. Ask Jermaine. He was there too. Funny thing, Foster said. Jermaine Lewis checked himself into county hospital last night. Broken nose, busted lip. Claims he was jumped outside Shanice's house, but doesn't remember much after that. Lavelle's eyes widened. He's lying. He's setting me up. Or maybe, Foster said, leaning closer, you snapped. You couldn't handle seeing her with another man. Lavelle slammed his fists against the table. I didn't touch her. The detective studied him for a long moment, then slid a photo across the table. Shanice's lifeless body on the living room floor. Lavelle stared at it, his face breaking into tears. God, no. No, Shanice. For a while, neither of them spoke. Finally, Foster said quietly, if you didn't kill her, who did? Lavelle swallowed hard. Jermaine. It had to be him. He hated that she still talked to me. Said she was too soft about it. Foster nodded slowly, but said nothing. Hours later, after Lavelle was booked, the detective went back to the crime scene. Something about it still didn't add up. He examined the room again, flashlight gliding over the floor, the broken lamp, the blood trail near the hallway. Then he saw it. Faint shoe prints leading away from Shanice's body toward the back door. They were too small to belong to Lavelle or Jermaine. Wait a second, Foster murmured. He followed the prints into the kitchen and found a half-empty wine glass beside another, lipstick on both. A man's watch lay next to them, engraved with the initials RF. The detective froze. Those were his initials. He lifted the watch, realization dawning. This wasn't his. He'd lost his watch weeks ago at the very bar where Shanice used to work. His voice trembled. No way. 2 weeks later, the department ruled Shanice's death a homicide. Lavelle remained the prime suspect, though no murder weapon had been found. But Detective Foster couldn't shake the feeling he was missing something. Every piece of evidence pointed one way, but the watch told another story. Then, late one night, as he reviewed security footage from the neighborhood, he saw it, grainy, barely visible, but there it was, a third figure leaving Shanice's house after midnight. Not Lavelle, not Jermaine, a woman. Foster leaned closer to the screen. Who the hell are you? The footage froze on her face, blurred but recognizable. His stomach turned to ice. It was Renee Lewis, Jermaine's ex-wife. In the end, Lavelle was cleared. Renee confessed days later, consumed by jealousy after finding out Jermaine had been seeing Shanice behind her back. She'd followed him that night, waited until everyone left, and in a fit of rage ended Shanice's life. Lavelle stood at Shanice's grave weeks later, rain falling softly as he placed a single white rose on the wet earth. I'm sorry, he whispered, for everything. As he turned to leave, lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the house across the street. Behind a curtain, someone was watching him. For a moment, Lavelle thought it was just his imagination, but then the curtain moved, and a woman's silhouette lingered there, unmoving.